McMullen, McDonald, and Mike Gill from down the shore, who's moving again. You got to get that computer in that perfect place, Gill. I appreciate your dedication. Thank you very much for that. What kind of T-shirt you got on today? We see it's Nike. Who you repping?
Andy.
Andy built.
Well, Jordan Matthews love.
I was in Nashville. I was in Nashville this summer, toured the campus. You know, they redid the stadium there. I don't know what it looked like during the year, but there was nothing there when I went. Nothing in August.
The Bandy Stadium?
The two end zones were completely gone. They're redoing like the seating down there. It's all right, campus. I would think for such a prestigious university that the campus would have more cachet to me of all the campuses.
Hey, but think Nashville's a great burgeoning city as well. So,
you know, people keep saying that, and I had a good time, but I think I would it's so small that I think you would get bored there after a while.
Well, you're not a bridesmaid. That's a big bridesmaid hangout.
No, and what it is a country music town. If you don't like country music, get the hell out. Why the hell would you even begin to show up in Nashville if you don't like country music? That's all you need to know about Nashville. And all you need to know is Mike Gill wears T-shirts from universities that would not accept Jordan McDonald, John McMullen, or Mike Gill. But somehow he's proud to don a Vanderbilt T-shirt. All right, Gill, break the debate for us. There are three potential ways the Eagles can handle this game against the Giants. One is, let's be honest, the Cowboys aren't losing to the Commanders here. They're going to win. We're going to be in the 5th seed. We're going to have to play in the playoffs. We need to protect everybody on this god-awful field that John McMullen is describing as like a minefield that no one can possibly play on because the turf is
hey, it ain't me. It's the players.
Yeah.
Players.
I don't
play on the field.
How'd the Jets get Aaron Rodgers to sign to play on the worst turf in the National Football League?
I will say on the whole field thing at MetLife. And by the way, Colin Thompson was on my show yesterday. I asked him about the field. He said it's awful. But my point is, never heard this before until this year. Did it just all of a sudden become the worst?
They've been talking about it for years.
But I feel like this is the first year we've heard how bad it is. I don't think in previous years anyone ever said, "Oh, that horrible." It's to the point that it's so bad that I don't even think you could play the Eagles can put any guys on that field. It's so bad. It's like I've never heard that before.
No, they play there all the time, but I'm just saying the players hate playing there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not doubting that. My point is I have never heard so much outward, so much of people saying how bad it is. I'm not doubting that the players hate it. I've just never actually heard the players or people say how bad the surface is there. This is the first year that I've heard it's like common knowledge how bad it is. I'm like, I didn't know that.
It's been raised to a new level. I agree with you there, Mike, but it's never been a good since they built the goddamn stadium. It hasn't been a good surface. Yeah. But if it snows this week, maybe they should cancel the game because God forbid any players go out and not play on pristine field.
That's it's funny because they used to, Bet Stadium was atrocious for many years, but now there's so much money involved. I think the players are like, and that's what Slay said yesterday. It's like and he was cursing. They make so much damn money. Fix it. It's not hard to fix. So I think that's the frustration from their standpoint. It's easy to fix.
Some might say it is hard to fix, AKA last year's Super Bowl. It's really easy to say after the fact, just fix it. All right, so just sit everybody. Take your best 9 players and go, you're all out, and figure out how to fill in the blanks thereafter and protect who you need to protect. Or, as John is suggesting, you're middle of the road it. Keep an eye on the scoreboard. Cowboys are close. You keep trying to win up until the Cowboys go ahead by 2 touchdowns. You go, all right, we got to go back into protection mode, and you pull your key guys. Or my take, which is forget the Cowboys. Their score is irrelevant. You, as the Philadelphia Eagles, have to feel good about yourself going into the postseason. And they have exactly 0 momentum right now. Whatever the momentum it is that I can build up by beating the snot out of the New York Giants by 3 touchdowns, I want to take. So I'm playing my guys this week to try and get right. Of those 3 choices, what would Mike Gill's be?
this game has so many great conversational hypotheticals, right? It's awesome for the next couple days for a game about a team that I agree that has apathy around it. We ran a poll the other day. Which team in 2024 are you most excited about? The Eagles playoff run, Sixers, Flyers, or Phillies? The Eagles came in last.
Last. I couldn't believe when Mike told me that.
Right, last. So the apathy around this team is unbelievable. So the hypotheticals around this game, to me, and I brought this up yesterday as well, Jody, I don't think I can take any. Like, if the Eagles win 38-3 and look good, that's not changing anybody's mind, right? It's just not. You're playing the Giants. Nobody cares. You know, we had people when they played the Giants the last time. Well, even if they beat the Giants, it's only the Giants. I don't care. I think people are at the point of the opponent in this game will give you no indication of where this team is. So, to me, I'm taking the bye week and just getting into the playoffs healthy, mind fresh, clear, and almost like a fresh start, and see if you just can't hit the switch come playoff time. Because, quite frankly, I know going on the road is a tall task, but you already think you have a tall task. So your path is probably best starting right now from 5 rather than 3.
Well, let me ask you a question, and I'll try and thread the needle here. Let's say you were playing the Lions in Detroit this week. It's not the Giants. It's the Lions in Detroit, a team that's going to make the playoffs like you. You know you're not going to play them in the first round because if you win, they're a divisional winner. They already got their division. So it's not you're giving anything away, but it's a team that's in the playoffs going to be hosting a game, not a team that's 5-11 like the Giants is. Would you play differently?
That's a good question, and it's fair. I probably would say no, based on.
So then don't give me about you can't win anything against the Giants. If the answer is you're playing a team that's going to be in the playoffs and exactly the same, but you wouldn't play your guys anyway, then I don't want to hear about the Giants. You can't win anything against the Giants. But your stance is you can't win anything this week. You don't think beating anyone this week will wipe out the previous 5 weeks of the Eagles just had?
No, well, based on the fact that I could face the Lions in the playoffs, and I might not want to show them anything at this stage of the season. So there is a little bit of, as the Eagles love, competitive advantage.
All right, you want it? You're gonna make me go another direction, and please don't give me the Super Bowl, okay? Let's say you were playing the Jaguars this week, a team that's gonna win a division, should win a division. They got everything to play for this week in the other conference. You're not facing them in the playoffs unless you get to the goddamn Super Bowl. Yeah. So if you're playing the Jaguars, who are a better team than the Giants, who are heading to the postseason, would you play your guys? Would you sit your guys?
I still think I'm at the point in my mind. Now, I do see both values of getting some reps. And I talked about this with Colin yesterday. As a player, would you want to play or would you want to sit out? And just, I think for me, and I don't know that there's a right answer here. For me, I think this team is at the point of they need a break. They need a week off. They need to just get away from the game. Because, look, and they're not the Raiders. The Raiders scored 0 points 1 week. They scored 63 the next. So you were so inept 1 week and then you were the greatest offense of all time the next. People have this belief that one game that the momentum's going to carry over to the next. It's bullshit. It's not happening. The players are different. The schemes are different. The game plans are different. The matchups are different. Styles make fights every week. So whatever you did 1 week does not carry over to success the next week just because you played well against the Giants. So to me, the best option is to just get away from the game for a week or two and get your mind right, body right, and ready to be refocused for hopefully your best shot at a run in the playoffs, which no one is giving you a shot right now. Doing anything in the snow against the Giants is probably not changing that at all. If they win 38-3 over the Giants, are you really going to come on Monday, Jody, and say, you know what? I think there's a Super Bowl run coming. No, of course not.
I'm going to say I think they got a better chance than if they beat the Giants 24-23 or lose to the Giants 24-23. Damn straight it's moving the needle for me.
All right, well, then you're a much more positive guy than me. So with that, I look at it like that. Like I said yesterday, A.J. Brown, of all the guys on this team, if you said, go get a guy, get him out here, and I want to ask him questions, he's the guy I want to hear from. He's the only guy I would think would tell me the truth. Brandon Graham, way too positive. Everything's great. Fletcher Cox, yeah, we got to get it right. We got to do same with Kelsey, who's great. He'll give you some emotion, but A.J. Brown's going to give it to you. Here's the problem. A.J. Brown doesn't play defense. So I might think that A.J. Brown can get some things going on offense. And I, quite frankly, as much as the offense has been frustrating, there is a part of me that feels like, hey, they could click at any moment because they have the talent to do so. He can't speak for that defense, which stinks. So the problem is whether they play great against the Giants or don't play, that defense right now, I think, has nobody to speak for them to make us all believe that they can just turn the corner. So regardless, I think your answer could be right, Jody, John's middle-of-the-road answer, and mine sitting them out. 3 different views. I don't think it's helping them because that defense stinks. And, throughout the season, I'm a big person of I don't care. There was a year, 2019. The Eagles lost to the Dolphins, who were trying to tank, right? They were trying to tank that year. They lost to the Dolphins. It was an embarrassing loss. And everybody said, that's it. They stink. They can't do it. They won 4 games in a row and went to the playoffs and almost won a game or 2 in that playoff run. That
team, who are you referencing here? I'm sorry, I missed that, Mike.
The 2019. They played the Dolphins in a game where the Dolphins were tanking.
When Stephen Ross was trying to pay Brian Flores to tank.
Yes. And everybody bailed on them. They're the worst team. If you lose to the Dolphins, how can you beat anybody else? Well, they went and won 4 straight games to end the season and went to the playoff. They won the division that year. So whatever happens in one game, to me, is not a big carryover. I'm a big person of looking at what you're ceiling. When you played your best game, what could you do? The problem is they played their best game, you could say, defensively against Miami, maybe the Tampa game. The problem is the personnel is different and the players are different. It's not the same level of ceiling for me on that defense. To me, that offense can score 40 and the defense will give up 44. So the offense people keep complaining about scored 24 points last week and had the ball for 20 minutes.
What's the big personnel change from that Miami? I won't go all the way back to Tampa. I think the Miami is their best game because shutting down Tampa's offense is not as impressive as slowing down Miami's offense. What's been the big personnel change on defense? And it's not the same defense.
It's not been a big personnel change. It has been a inability to it's a great question because you would think Kevin Byers an upgrade over Terrell Edmonds or Justin Evans. James Bradbury has lost 2 steps. He gets cooked every week. So you might say early in the year, maybe he was playing better. He has not displayed any ability to cover in the last, 8 weeks? It is almost like he lost 2 steps right in front of our very eyes. Even if Slay is not having a bad year, we talked about this yesterday, John and I. Every single guy last year on this defense had their best season of all time. And there was no way they were going to duplicate it. We just didn't know they were going to take a step back in some cases or 2 steps back in other cases.
Well, one did. TJ Edwards.
Oh, well, he took 2 steps right out the door. And I talked about this a lot. The people who hated John Gannon. I said, you can hate Gannon all you want at his scheme. The scheme is what the scheme is. We don't like the scheme. But he had multiple guys on this team play the best season that they've ever had in their career.
Yep.
So whether you liked him or not, he had them playing. Hassan Reddick is not the same player. Josh Sweat is not the same player. Brandon Graham, not the same player. Fletcher Cox, not having the same year. Slay, not having the same year.
Fletcher's been pretty good. He was not existent this past week, but before that, Fletcher's had a good season. And he had a very good season last year. He had a very, very comparable years last year and this year. John, agree, disagree.
Okay.
No, I think
Fletcher's been the same. The 2 linebackers, obviously. I think the linebackers are so unquantifiable.
Well, now Zach Cunningham is Roquan Smith, evidently. Everybody's talking about Zach and physicality and him getting back. But to Jody's point about Miami, it's part personnel is why, because Slade went out, Zach went out, Avonte Maddox has been out for a long time. That to me is the hope with the defense. Can those three guys elevate them from terrible to okay? And if they can do that, then they can win some games, and because they can outscore some people.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong. Slade played against both the 49ers and the Cowboys in Dallas.
He did, but he was hurt, and he had knee surgery. He had knee surgery. He's been playing through it, and he might not be 100%. I mean, the assumption
and when he gets back
at 33, he
and
might
when he gets
not be
back,
100%.
he's going to be coming off of 4 weeks of knee surgery, and you're going to say, "Hey, he's back," and he's. I mean, to me, it's just the writings on the wall with this defense. Everybody complained about Brian Johnson and the offense and the bubble screens. They scored 24 points last week. They only had the ball for 20 minutes. I mean, yeah, it's not aesthetically pleasing, but they're scoring enough points. If you score 31 points in an NFL game, you should goddamn win the game. Yeah. Right? You got to win the game at 31 points in an NFL game. I know one came off of an interception return. Their offense is part of the problem, but that defense for me, I can't trust that defense in any stretch of the imagination.
No, why could you? But my point with those three players, Slay might not be what Slay once was, but he's better than anybody else they have. And if he's playing, Ricks and Ringo aren't playing. If Zach Cunningham's playing, Shaq Leonard's not playing.
You can make a strong argument that Ringo and Ricks have played better than Bradbury, and that Bradbury shouldn't be on the field.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but yeah, Bradbury hasn't played well. But I'm gonna ride with Bradbury and hope there's some improvement, and maybe there isn't going to be improvement because he's had a bad season.
The thing is, those guys in the back end, it is what it is. Like if Bradbury's good and Slay is good, this defense is predicated on getting pressure, and they're getting zip, no pressure, Buckus, Zippo, Reddick. And Sweat have not had any. Okay, I know you're not a big sack guy. Sacks number. They're not getting pressure. They're not even. They can't even get a handshake.
They still have more pressures than they had last year, which is astonishing to me. By the way,
they were on a higher pace of last year. About 8 weeks into the season, since about that time, they have gone radio silence.
They haven't played well.
The run defense. You give up over 200 yards to the Arizona Cardinals on the ground. I liken this to, Mike Tyson losing to Buster Douglas. For a while there, he was invincible. Nobody even wanted to try to run the ball. Once somebody ran the ball in this team, they said, why were everybody afraid of this run defense? Jordan Davis, no help in the run game. Carter, certainly not the same impact that he had. I know the linebackers have been in and out, so they're not helping as much against the run. The run defense is supposed to be the strength. I remember when they played Tampa Bay, that was week 2. They were giving up like 50 yards a game, and you're like, are they even going to try to run on this team? Well, they didn't try to run on this team because nobody could. And then as soon as somebody did, everybody did. It was like, this defense people were afraid of, get out of here. So they can't stop the run. They don't get enough pass rush. They tackle awful tackling. Bad defense.
By the way, and Nick Sirianni brought this up yesterday to the tackling. Yeah, they were atrocious against Arizona. They're the third best tackling team in the NFL. And people think they can't tackle, which they can't tackle, but nobody can tackle. So I don't necessarily think that those were the worst run fits I've seen all season. I mean, guys just out of gaps. And you start to say, all right, why is that at this point in week 17? Why is it that bad? And a lot of people gave you, Ganning schemed it up and this and that. And he knows the Eagles defense. Boy, it was bad. And part of the reason is I don't think it could be that bad again. I think they're going to overcorrect. So Nick brought it up. By missed tackle percentage, they're third best in the NFL.
That's crazy.
If you look at PFF, they're fourth best tackling team. Nobody tackles. So, but when it really shows up is when you're not in those run fits where you're supposed to be. Then you got those big gashing gains. And then Connor can break tackles. Yeah, it was ugly. It was ugly last week. But it's got that part of it I don't worry about because that's going to self-correct. The bigger issue is that they got to get, look, I think it's great long-term. Ringo getting some experience, Rick's getting some experience. But if they want to win playoff games, they can't be on the field. Same thing with Shaq Leonard. He's more of a veteran player with him. He got here so late. You can't expect too much. Certainly Ben Van Sumeren. I mean, you can't have Ben Van Sumeren on the field, expect to win playoff games.
No.
He's got to be off the field. So, yeah, that's their only hope.
Is it Nicholas Morrow by process of elimination?
Oh, yeah, Nick's got to play. Nick's got to play. Nick and Zach. That's the best you have. So that's who you have to play.
It's not quite good enough for me, but there's nothing you can do about it now. But my guy, just got to thank you because you helped to make a point for me. The Eagles, who have more pressures this year than last year, and the defense has gone down significantly from last year to this year, tells you how overrated pressures are. When sacks disappear, your defense disappears. And that's what's happened to the Eagles defense this year. So I stand by my sacks are really important statistic. Let me see if you both agree. If I lose this one, I'm just going to probably have to resign. One guy who needs to play 90% of the snaps this week for me is Avonte Maddox. And I know he's coming back off an injury, and you'd like to be careful.
He's hurt again, by the way. He's got an elbow injury. He was limited.
Can't trust those guys from Pitt.
I'm going to use a phrase Mike Gill used just earlier here in the show. Last week, Avonte Maddox sucked. He was friggin' terrible. He got the worst PFF grade on the entire Eagle team. Offense, defense, anywhere. Ooh, we're getting Avonte Maddox back. That takes that big problem off our plate. We've been terrible in this line. We've been running guys in and out and in and out and in and out of this line. Oh, we got Avonte back. He was awful. You talk about rest versus rust. Forget rest. He's got rust dripping off him. He needs to play every single snap because if you're going to move on to the playoffs, you're going to need Avonte to be at least a portion of what Avonte Maddox can be. Do you agree he's got to play this weekend?
Yeah, no, he definitely, as much as you're so concerned about him getting hurt, he's got, I mean, you're right. He was terrible last week. And to me, he's a big key of why this defense has had some issues in that area. I mean, when he went out, how many different guys have played slot corner?
Oh.
I mean, he is, look, I'm a West Virginia guy. To have to say a Pitt guy, although you can't trust a Pitt guy. That's why. That's the problem. You can't trust a Pitt guy. But he has played very well when he's been out there healthy, but he just constantly keeps getting hurt. But I do agree that he is one of the few guys that I want to see get out there, play a full game, play again. He had last week where he was really bad. Just kind of get that rust off. Now get another game where you can play. Now it's a bad turf to have to put these guys. It might be snowing out there. But, yeah, he would be one guy that I want to see. Obviously you can't sit everybody. People have to play. And you mentioned Shaq Leonard. I have not seen one thing from Leonard. And it was like people thought they were going to sign this guy. He was going to help this defense out. Getting Maddox back.
He actually played well against the Giants. He had a good game. He had one really great play that kind of stood out. He wasn't terrible against the Giants. Other than that, he's kind of sucked.
Right, but we're
tossing that suck word around a lot today. Shaq Leonard's done more sucking than playing, yes.
Right, but he would be a guy that I would play, and maybe if I see something from him in the game to say, all right, but give him a chance to play more. Byard might be a guy because Byard, you make this trade for this guy, and you're thinking, man, we got this all-pro safety. He's really going to change that position. That was a revolving door. That position still hasn't really stood out at all. The Maddox kid role, I certainly would play. By the way, did anybody else find it perplexing that they activated Rashad Penny, didn't give him a carry, and deactivated Roby?
Well, they had 4 players who were active that didn't play. One is Marcus Mariota, which doesn't matter, but you rarely see that. Yeah, why is he active? Now, they didn't play a lot of offensive snaps.
Yeah.
Maybe that played into it. Maybe they thought they were going to have a lead, and that was going to be the Rashad Penny coming that close out the game with the big lead type of thing. But it's weird that you have that many available players not playing. Yeah, it was a little bit strange. At Mike Gill Show, make sure you follow Mike on X/Twitter. 97.3 The Sports Bash every afternoon, 2 to 6. By the way, and I wanted to do this on purpose, and yeah, it wasn't brought up, and I got to bring it up at this point. I haven't seen many people write about it. I wrote about it. Am I the only one who looked at AJ Brown yesterday? And I don't care about the other stuff. Maybe because I know AJ and I know it's what he's talking about. I know what he feels. Maybe it's because of that. He said something yesterday that just blew my mind. And that was the Seattle game and the interception.
Yeah.
And he and Jalen Hurts were improvising on that particular play. And he said, Nick is looking like a fool to cover for us. He used that terminology.
Mm-hmm.
They're out there freelancing, improvising on the biggest spot of a game that lost them the game. And I haven't seen any, what the hell is going on here? Now, we talked to Nick before we talked to AJ. So we're, obviously we're going to ask Nick at some point. Probably won't be till Friday. Does that alarm you guys at all?
Yeah. Oh, we talked about it yesterday. You peel the onion deeper from that comment is, well, how long has that been going on?
Yeah.
And is anybody getting...
How often does it happen?
Yeah.
How often do you go off script in a season where the offensive coordinator consistently getting criticized for play calling? And how often is that happening? Is there any repercussions? Is anybody saying, hey, we called this and you guys did this? If you do it again, are we at the point where, the players are just having no respect for the coaches? Now, I asked yesterday, I think A.J. Brown was the perfect guy to go talk because I don't think they sat him down and say, you're going to go out there and you're going to make sure you back these coaches and you're going to make sure that everything's good. I think legitimately he went out there and spoke his mind.
Yep.
Whereas, you could say, hey, this guy went out there and spoke and he said, the coaches are good. We ride with them. And you might have said, they told him to say all that. I don't think they said that with A.J. Brown. But my question would be then, so why would A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, two of the leaders of this team, just go off script whenever they feel like it? And how long does that happen? How many times? Like, would Patrick Mahomes just say to Andy Reid, thanks a lot, buddy. Nice play call. I ran my own play.
Well, yeah, Patrick would, but it's one thing to
improvise. Mahomes is probably more likely to do it than any other quarterback.
So then are we saying then it's okay, John?
Well, no, to me, there's a difference between improvising off schedule. That's fine. Jalen Hurts does it all the time. There's no issues at that point when the play breaks down and you're just trying to make a play like the 3rd and 20s to AJ a couple weeks ago, and he's extending the play. That's what Patrick does with the arm angles. That to me is part of the game. That is what makes them great. But this is a play. This is a play where they just threw it. They just threw a go route. And we talked about it a lot. And Nick Sirianni's answer was weird. And we talked about it. And he said, we're trying to draw a pass. Well, who the hell draws up a play to draw a pass interference? Now, you hope Brad Allen's out there making a bad call for you, I guess. But that's not something you hang your hat on. It was just the worst explanation ever. Now we kind of find out why there's all this haranguing.
Well, I love that A.J. Brown said he looked like a fool. Like his answer was
yes.
Oh, he did.
Yes.
He's being honest.
Yeah.
Power to him.
Yeah.
But I guess I got to go back and watch that play again. I think I still got the Seattle game on DVR. That was an off-schedule play. He was out of the pocket. So
he dropped back and threw a go route. He didn't look off the safety. That's what it looked like on film. He went for the deep shot against Seattle with A.J. Brown kind of underthrew it. The safety, Julian Love, came over, made a great interception. No, it wasn't off schedule. That was dropping back and throwing a go route. And
from the pocket, it was.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like one of these things where AJ Brown says to Hurts, "I'm going to be open. Just throw it up. I'll get it." You know.
Exactly. And that to me creates more questions and opens Pandora's box. Because if that wasn't the play call, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen, I guess because of all the other stuff that people were focused on. I was catching flies. My jaw was up. I'm like, what is this? Varsity Blues? What are you just taking over? I mean, it shocked me, but I guess it hasn't shocked as many other people.
It bothers me. I'll agree with you, John. All right, Mike Gill, always a pleasure. We appreciate whatever you do. Come on, looking forward to next week's T-shirt. You got to step up your T-shirt game in 2024, buddy. There's people got to know what Mike Gill's T-shirt's going to be on a week in, week out basis. Looking forward.
I got something great for you next week.
Next week. Oh, he's got a playoff T-shirt, ladies and gentlemen. He's up in his game. We'll get you back on Wednesday next week into your regular slot. Thanks for adjusting the Thursday for us, Mike. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, everybody.
Thanks,
Mike Gill from the Sports Bash, ESPN Radio 97.3 down the shore. And he gets McMullen up as a guest as often as possible. Smart man, that Mike Gill. All right, Jordan McDonald, John McMullen here with you on Birds 365. We got Easy Eddie Kratz joining us in less than 20 minutes. So you want to stick around.